Hi everyone, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader. Today I want to talk to you about exciting new books that are being published in August. Publishers kindly sent me all of these books for review. I picked out ones that I'm really interested in and excited to read. So I'm going to talk through these books about why I'm interested in reading each one. And you know, this puts me in such a dilemma because last week the long list for the Booker Prize was announced. So I really want to read the books that I haven't read on the Booker Prize list yet. But then there's all these new, really exciting books coming out. So you know what I think is that the month of August all around the world should just be declared as like National Reading Month. We should all be granted the month off and we can just read as much as we want. You know, in France, like a lot of people like take the whole month of August off. And I think we should follow that lead in the rest of the world where we just spend the month reading. I mean, don't you think that's a great idea? I'd be so up for leading this revolution if you want to join my army. So there's 10 books being published in August in the UK that I want to talk about, but actually there's one more that I want to talk about first, which is this book, Dance by the Canal by Kerstin Hensel, and I just got this in the post from Perrine Press, or Perrine Press, I'm not sure how you pronounce them, but this is a book that I bought because I have a subscription to this press where each time they have a new publication they send it to me, and I'm not being sponsored to say this, I just think it's a really interesting small press that only publishes translated works of fiction, and they're all quite short, so they're easy and quick to get through. And this is a novel about a girl born to quite a privileged family in Germany, but she rejects that privilege and she ends up living under a bridge until the wall between East and West Germany comes down, and then she finds that she has new opportunities to express herself and to be herself. So I'm eager to get to that. Then the first book I want to talk about is one that I'm actually currently reading now, which is called My Absolute Darling by Gabriel Tallent. This is published by Fourth Estate. It has this very haunting cover of this girl looking in quite a sour mood, and I'm most of the way through reading it now. It's really beautifully and sharply written, all about this 14-year-old girl living in California with her very domineering and abusive father, who is sort of a survivalist. So there's guns all around the house that they live in, and he teaches her to use them. So they're sort of cut off from the society around them. And it's a really gripping and terrifying, and in some ways like very strangely written book. So I'm sure I'll be talking about this more soon in a wrap-up. Next is the novel Johannesburg by Fiona Melrose, and this is published by Corsair. This is Fiona Melrose's second novel. Her first novel, Midwinter, was longlisted for this year's Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction. That was such a gorgeously written novel, so I'm really eager to read her new fiction. This new novel is set over the course of a single day in Johannesburg on the day that Nelson Mandela dies. And it sort of takes as its inspiration Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. So it's about a woman who returns from New York to Johannesburg and is throwing a party, and so it's about the family over the course of this one day. And it has a really beautiful, lovely cover. Madness is Better Than Defeat by Ned Beauman, and this is published by Scepter. It has, I got this proof, which is a really fun sort of rainbow mirrored cover, but then this is what the actual cover will look like, which is quite different. So the plot sounds quite crazy. It all centers around a Mayan temple, and it's about the year in 1938 when two rival expeditions come to that temple, where one wants to film a screwball comedy around it, and another wants to disassemble the temple and bring it back to the United States to have it there as a monument. And then it's also about a later time when the CIA gets involved, and I think apparently this temple induces some kind of state of madness in people. So it sounds quite wild. I've never read any of Ned Beauman's books before, but I've seen him read before, and he writes really intriguing fiction. Next are a couple of books of short stories. I really love short fiction, and I always want to like read more, but for some reason recently I really haven't been reading much short fiction, so I'd really like to get to new books of short stories. First is A Life of Adventure and and Delight by Akhil Sharma. This is published by Faber and Faber, and I love this colorful rainbow cover on it. This comes with a whole string of quotes on it by really great writers, including Yi Yun Lee on the front here, whose book I read earlier this year and absolutely loved. And she says that he is truly the Chekhov of our time. And this book sounds like it sort of straddles genres, where it's short stories, but it also incorporates aspects of memoir. I think that a lot of the stories are about family life. So I've also already been hearing lots of great things about this book from people I follow on Twitter who are saying it's really great. So very eager to get to this. And then there is this book called Sour Heart by Jenny Zhang, which is published by Bloomsbury. And these are all short stories which are very much about the immigrant experience in America of people who have moved there from China. Earlier this year, I read Viet Thanh Nguyen's book, The Refugees, his book of short stories, which were all about the immigrant experience in America. So I'm really interested to read more stories that give a different kind of perspective about the immigrant experience. And this book comes blurbed by such popular figures as Miranda July and Lena Dunham. And it's another book that has, I think, like a really beautiful, simple cover. Midwinter Break by Bernard MacLaverty, and this is published by Jonathan Cape. So this is a bit of a odd book because apparently he is a very well-regarded Irish writer. I've never read any of his books before, but I think this is his first book in like 16 years or something like that. And the description of the story, I have to say, doesn't sound that gripping or interesting to me. It's about a older Scottish couple who are of Irish descent, who go on a short break to Amsterdam, and over the course of that break, they sort of unravel their marriage and how, even though their marriage is quite companionable, there's lots of buried secrets, and those all sort of come to the forefront. And I think that sounds like quite like an obvious device. But what makes me really, really interested in reading this book is the strength of his reputation, because a lot of people I really respect rate this author very, very highly. So on the back there are quotes from people like Anne Enright and Con Toibin and Richard Ford, who all rate him as one of the best writers in Ireland. And I love Irish fiction, so I am very eager to read this. Of course, I'm going to make up my own mind, and if it turns out I don't like it, then I guess I'll never trust those people's opinions again. So no pressure. I'm sure Com Toibin is shaking in his boots right now, hoping that I love it. City of Circles by Jess Richards. This is published by Scepter. This is a novel with a gorgeous cover, which is all about sort of the circus and circus life. It's about a woman whose parents have died from a disease, and she performs this high wire act, and she becomes involved with this hunchback. It sounds like quite a wild plot, but I really love books about the circus. It's I think they invoke the name of like Angela Carter, of course. It sort of feels like circus books are becoming a whole like genre in themselves. But I'm really intrigued by it, so very eager to read this as well. Proxies by Brian Blanchard, and this is being published by Picador. This is a book of essays, sort of memoirist essays, all about his life and his thoughts about sexuality and being a working class writer. So I feel sort of guilty about this book because actually a year ago this book was first published in America, and the author actually sent it to me. He was referred on to me by Garth Greenwell, who recommended that he should send his book to me for review, but I didn't get around to reading it, even though I kept meaning to, but it's finally being published in the UK, so I'm very eager to get to this. There's a quote on the cover from Maggie Nelson, so I think it sounds like his essays sort of strike a similar tone to Maggie Nelson's nonfiction, where it's very personal, but also very intellectual and insightful. Next is a very different sort of book called Yesterday by Felicia Yap. This is a thriller published by Wildfire, and this is her first novel. And I don't read all that many thrillers, but I was quite taken and intrigued by this one. It's about a woman who can only remember yesterday, and the body of her husband's lover has been found. So the question is raised about whether she killed him or her husband killed her, but because she can only remember yesterday, she sort of has to put the pieces together of what happened from notes that were written. So it has the sort of feel of that movie called Memento, if you'd ever saw that movie. So I think this sounds like a really fun sort of autumnal read. And finally, there is The Redhaired Woman by Orhan Pamuk. This is published by Faber and Faber, and this is by the well-respected Nobel Prize winner. It's about two men who are well drillers, and the younger man, who is an apprentice, meets a mysterious red-haired woman who sort of distracts him. And the story goes out from there. It's billed as sort of a mystery and romance and a East meets West sort of tale. So those are all the books that are being newly published in August that I'm really eager to get to, and I don't know where I'm going to find the time, along with also reading the Booker long-listed books, but I do really want to get to some of these books. So I'll list them all in the description below if you click show more, but let me know in the comments what ones you're interested in reading, or chat to me in the comments about what other books you're interested in reading in August, or just chat about how you are. How are you doing? Let me know. Let's have a chat. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon, and happy reading, everyone.